Right, so Professor Lanyon, let's have a little look at what we might say in response to a question on Professor Lanyon. So I'm going to go through the 4 key points I'd make about him, and I've colour coded my analysis so you can see where it matches the mark scheme. So, how does Stevenson present the character of Professor Lanyon? Through Professor Lanyon, Stevenson is showing the dangers of conformation to society. Lanyon is bound mentally and physically to the limits of society, and this is what ultimately destroys him. I would then talk about how Stevenson uses Lanyon to explore the fundamental principles of science. What do we mean by progress? What do we define by progress? What do we mean by science and what it should do for our world? Because Lanyon, as a scientist, and his belief fundamentally juxtaposes with Jekyll's, yet it's questionable which is the one that progresses humanity more. So the 4 points I would make are in the question about Professor Lanyon. First of all, Lanyon rejects Jekyll's thinking, considering it dangerously wrong, and I'll be looking at the irony of this and through the quote, wrong in mind. However, it's Lanyon that is the block to human progress, and the quote I've got for this is unscientific balderdash. Now, this blind conformation to society hurts us physically, for he's got a shock of hair, prematurely white, but it also hurts us mentally, and I've got my life is shaken to its roots for that. So, paragraph 1, and I've got this quote here, wrong in mind. So Lanyon rejects Jekyll's thinking as inaccurate and dangerous. Now this reflects the intolerance of new scientific thinking of the Victorian era, such as Darwinism. Utterson expects them to be friends as they have a common interest, but Lanyon's limited rational mindset forbids it. He rejects Jekyll's transcendental science. Now I'd make the point in my essay that this is quite dangerous. This rejection is a dangerous thing, because Lanyon is denied a true understanding of humanity and therefore is denied the whole point of science. The whole point of science is improving your knowledge and understanding so you can help humanity and make humans progress. But because he doesn't accept what Jekyll's saying, Jekyll's thoughts about impulsive evil and about the danger that's inside us, he doesn't understand that. Now this intolerance of his approach ultimately costs him his life, because when he finds out that he's been living a lie, he dies, he can't cope with it. And so Lanyon here is presented as judgmental. Even he has a bit of Hyde in him too. This man is meant to be the complete definition of a model citizen, completely conformed to society. He's still got that little bit of anger and a little bit of judgment inside him that we would associate with Hyde. Now the repetition of the word wrong here has got 2 meanings. So we've got wrong in terms of incorrect, the science is incorrect, but also wrong in mind, which suggests a mental instability, which is quite ironic, as it is actually Jekyll who is right all along, and it is Lanyon's mental state that is warped by the truth by the end. Right, then I would move on to looking at the irony of Professor Lanyon, and I'll use the quote unscientific balderdash for that. So science is about improvement and discovery, but Lanyon blocks this human progress. He dismisses Jekyll's transcendental science as unscientific, but actually it is his thinking and discovery that does a lot more to further our understanding of the human soul than Lanyon's rational science. So here, Stevenson is using Professor Lanyon to show Hyde is maybe a little bit of a force for good too. Through Hyde, we can identify our own instinctive impulses and find sanctity and peace that we're not alone with those instinctive impulses. We can see the dangerous limitations of society and the power in judgment, and Hyde, who's created by science, shows us about the reality of our world. Hyde really does a lot more for our understanding of humanity than Lanyon does, and Lanyon considers that transcendental and unscientific. So this reflects the conflict in Victorian science between pseudoscience and actual discovery, and this is shown throughout Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with things like the handwriting expert and so on. So this confusion between each limits our understanding of humanity and blocks progress. Then I'd look how Stevenson uses Lanyon to articulate the dangers of our society and the problems with conforming all the time. So this blind conformation to society is hurting Lanyon physically because he's got a shock of hair that's prematurely white. So the pressure of consistently having to maintain appearances and do what society classes as good is having an adverse effect on Professor Lanyon's health. Even though he is described as an associate of Utterson, an associate of Jekyll, he's described in far older, more aged terms than them physically. So this juxtaposes the physical appearance of Jekyll. He's described as more youthful and strong, so it implies his freedom from society's limits keeps him carefree. Now this shows the irony of Lanyon's approach to life, for although he believes his conformation to limited rational science and the expectation of society is correct, it is actually killing him slowly. Bit of a metaphor for us all really. Now the adjective white here connotes to innocence and surrender. So Lanyon is innocent at the knowledge of what life could really be like, and when he finds out he surrenders to the horror of that reality. Then I'd look at one of the last things Lanyon says, which is, my life is shaken to its roots when he sees Jekyll become Hyde. So Lanyon's blind confirmation society has hurt him mentally as well as physically in the previous paragraph. Society's rational limitations had even curtailed his thoughts. He never believed that transcendental science in Hyde was possible, and this presents society as a true enemy, as it has denied Lanyon the opportunity to be a true scientist and improve humanity and aid progress. The pressure of society and his own pride forbids him from taking this knowledge and moving on. Now this also shows the danger of science. For science to expose, there are people in society who are impulsive, free and do not want to conform, and Lanyon does not want to live in a world like that. And this reflected in this quote when he says, if we knew all, we'd be more glad to get away. He's given up on his profession, he's given up on his career because he doesn't want to know the truth of our world, which science is revealing to him. Now the metaphor roots at the core foundation, showing how the very basis of everything he has believed was wrong. This is ironic. This shows the ironic hypocrisy of his earlier comments when he thought that what Jekyll was doing was unscientific balderdash, and actually now it transpires he is the one who was wrong all along.